Let's say you finished reading Crucifixion 6 and didn't drop the manga after prison. Let's say you liked it and you want something similar, but at the same time original. You know, with a pinch of happy ending. In general, I present to your attention the manga When Night Falls. Manga feels very strongly with a crucifix, especially with a drawing. At some point, I even thought that Masuka you just decided to rewrite, but not exactly. Although, as it turned out, things were exactly the opposite here. When Night Comes, it came out earlier. And before proceeding to the retelling, I ask you to support my channel with a like and a subscription. Well, it's time to start. What is this story about? Here we will have the crucifixion of the three. Mochizuki Saya was sexually assaulted 8 years ago. They did this to her, and later 3 teenagers were also killed. Under the protection of the Juvenile Offenders Act, they were able to return to society. Our main character is her younger brother Mochizuki Wataru. He's not going to get used to the idea that his sister's killers will just walk free with new names. So he's preparing to hunt down and kill everyone. And Freddy Krueger's ability will help him in this. You see, he gets the perfect weapon for the crime, the ability to enter other people's dreams and do with the victims what he wants. At the same time, the consequences of such actions will be reflected in reality. 8 years ago, standing in front of his sister's grave in the cemetery, he asks his parents why Saya had to die. In the present, sitting in the office in front of some man, he asks to tell 3 people that his sister was killed, some things. These are talismans. He knows that now criminals will enter society under new names. Nami wants them to at least not forget about what they did. Later, together with his parents and the detective who dealt with Sai's case, he came to the cemetery. Before the prayer, Wataru imitates a wrestler with Yumo because his sister loved this sport very much during her lifetime. The detective reminds that criminals will soon become members of society again. He asks, if the main character passes by one of them, what will he do? Gigi replies that he definitely won't tell the detective about this. The second one expresses concerns because such an intelligent person as Wataru can commit the perfect crime. Pretending with all his might that he has already been able to overcome grief, the main character says goodbye to the servant of the law and walks away to check the phone. The GPS transmitter turned on. After changing his clothes, he rides the train thinking. Mochizuki Saya, at the time when she was abused and then killed, she was 14 years old. Selfish, brave, tomato-hating. Replacing his sister simply could not exist. Wataru didn't forget anything and, of course, is not easy. Each mascot had a GPS tracker hidden in it. Now one of them has started moving. Judging by the mark, this is the leader's best friend, a man named Baba Knight. He wants to know them better, to understand what they're feeling and regret it at all. If he doesn't like their answers, he will force them. The tracker led him to the Patinka game room. Even if they have had plastic surgery, he will recognize them. There were 3 of them, the main Ekiyama Ryu, his friend Baba Knight, and Sakamoto Takuya. We see a fragment of the crime itself. Saya was riding her bike in the evening when they crashed a car into her vehicle. Not much, but enough to disable it. Apologizing, as they allegedly did not notice her in the dark, they focus on the injury and that the girl needs to go to the hospital. They will give her a ride, which they continue to persuade her about. It turned out to be in their car. Baba Knight was driving. Sakamoto was just a pawn who followed the others. Akiyama was sitting next to the prisoner. The car drove to the hospital. Sensing something was wrong, the girl became worried. The others began to convince her that it was. Now Wataru found one of the talismans in the hall. He sits down next to me, but the owner turns out to be a random person. She bought it for a certain number of machine balls from another guy. He found his victim, the only blonde on this floor, looking exactly like that. There is no doubt this is Baba Knight. Approaching the manager, Wataru says that the blonde dropped the letter and asks him to pass it. After receiving the letter, after a while, he arrived on a motorcycle to an abandoned barn. Wataru appeared from behind. The blonde does not recognize the main character. The latter thinks that he is as ready as possible for this. His hair is covered with wax, All the hairs on his body are shaved off, latex gloves are on his hands, shoes are a size smaller. He disposes of weapons after the murder. Thus, there will be no vegtex against him. Knowing who is in front of him, and why he was called, the blonde turns around, and is about to leave. Before that, Wataru wants to ask something, why he sold the talisman. He got the answer. There is no sense in the talisman anyway. Everything is clear. Such a person does not deserve to live. Gigi rushes forward and knocks him to the ground. Putting a knife to the opponent's face, he demands to remember his sister. The blonde asks to stop, asking if he is really a member of that girl's family. Then he shouts out that it's not him, he's not Baba Knight. The lights came on, someone was sitting on a bike behind him. Sitting. This is a real Baba Knight, who demands to let go of his younger brother. He asked him to take this talisman, because somehow this gift itself looked very suspicious. Wataru was scared. Noticing that he is nervous because his plan has failed, the real criminal says that they are with his sister. More naive, and that's why they got caught. He says that being murdered and raped is so banal. Then he drives a motorcycle into a barn and knocks down the main character. Spitting on him and leaving him there to bleed, the criminals fled. That's how he got to the hospital. After sitting with him and getting nervous, the parents leave. The main character himself is now dreaming about his sister. He asks her not to cry and promises he will protect you. And suddenly his spirit leaves his body. Wataru sees himself in a hospital bed and tries to figure out what it means. In this state, he can float and pass through walls. He flew up to the nurses, who were discussing that one of them was being groped by the head doctor again. But they didn't react to Wataru's presence in any way. Continuing to soar, he finds a familiar neighbor boy in one of the wards. He is also asleep, but his disembodied copy, in some kind of translucent sphere, sits directly above the body. Realizing that the child has a nightmare, the main character stretches out his hand, and so he finds himself inside his dream. A boy named Kenta is sitting with a frown. Trying to talk to him, Wataru finds out what he has. Besides, the tooth is loose. He can help him rip it out. Thrusting his hand into the child's mouth, the hero pulls out a tooth. In the morning, waking up, Gigi sees his mother. She immediately calls the doctor. While he is examining his condition, Wataru sees yesterday's nurse. Saying that she probably has a hard time because of Dr. Kuwayama, he gets an answer. How did you know? Having asked himself this question, being sure that it was just a dream, he is looking for Kinta in a wheelchair. The boy is also here, in that very ward. The whole entourage here looks identical. What he saw in his dream. Then he asks the boy a question. When was the last time he saw him? The child replies that last night he actually helped him pull out a tooth. So they managed to meet in the dream. Parents were informed at that time that doctors were concerned about the condition inside, the internal organs of the main character, and are asked to be careful in the near future. After saying goodbye to him, they meet with Detective Misumi. While the guy is sleeping, he reports that he has found a motorcycle. He was thrown into the river. The transport stolen to find the criminals will take time. However, now he is interested in something else. Do the parents know what their son was doing in Osaka? In a place where he usually does not happen. The parents don't know anything. The spirit of Wataru himself, hovering over them, confident that he was not heard, admits that he wanted to see Baba Knight. The guy hasn't changed, and he doesn't regret what he did. The main character flies away in the other direction, continuing to reflect. Yesterday, he actually managed to get into Kenta's dream, but we need to understand why only in his. Flying past the ward, he notices that another dream of Dr. Kuwayama has appeared. Going inside, he sees the doctor posing. Approaching him, Wataru says that the nurses do not like his sexual harassment. Kuwayama retorts that he works hard every day. And bringing comfort to such workers is an important part of the honorable work of a nurse. For this, he gets his foot right on the tomatoes. It was expected, but the next day after waking up, he staggered towards urology. As soon as he woke up, his car swelled up and began to hurt terribly. There is no doubt that Wataru kicked the doctor, and this reflected on reality, therefore, he can also carry out his revenge. A month passed, the main character was discharged. During this time, he understood his ability a little bit. He called it the Golden Dream, and it allows you to penetrate into other people's dreams, and in some way affect the sleeper, so that it is reflected. Now the avatar went on a search again, and after some time, was able to find Baba Knight himself. Seeing that he is calmly walking down the street, and even without any disguise, he tries to understand why this is so. Why doesn't anyone react to the killer? But everything is much simpler. It's been 8 years. No one remembers what happened anymore. Although, rather, all this is due to the fact that the media hid their photos and real names. According to juvenile justice, there should be no publications with photos or real names in the media. Juvenile delinquents or their families. Therefore, thanks to the law, he can safely continue to live without fear of DOESN. Wataru continued to follow Baba the Elder. It's a surname, if anything. Therefore, the blonde is also a kind of woman. The surveillance led him to the garage, where in fact, there was a second one. Wataru appeared right in front of them, claiming that he was unarmed. He just wants to talk in private, and the older one sends the younger one's Baba away. Wataru holds out his hand, apologizing for what happened. The latter came closer, poked his palm with a drawbar. Key on hand and not stretched. Turning his back on Gigi, he tells him to run away, but immediately catches himself thinking, what if he tries to kill him? And, for example, stabs him in the back. As if reading his thoughts, Wataru says to his back that it's hard to live in constant fear. True, I was holding a knife that day, but in truth I wasn't going to use it. Gigi is not an inveterate killer, so he wanted to finish everything without killing anyone. There won't be a next time, so now the only option is to make up. It is enough just to shake hands and apologize to his sister. Nade returns, but before shaking hands, spits on his palm. Squeezing his hand tightly, he tells him to take this feeling with him as a gift. This is the same hand that he used to beat up his fucking sister. Then he hit the guy hard in the stomach, demonstrating the difference in strength. Then he beats him with his foot. Only Wataru doesn't give a shit about what happened as much as 8 years ago. And now it's time to learn how the golden dream works. The conditions for entering it are bodily contact. The people Wataru touched don't count. It is necessary for a person to touch it himself. Senior woman, he held out his palm, so the conditions have been fulfilled. Night came. In a dream, Baba Knight is fixing a bike. Seeing Wataru there, he is disappointed. That guy again. The main character says that there is a very strange motorcycle right in front of them. And this is not him, these are the bloody and cut remains of a giant cow. Baba was overcome with fear when his dream changed so much. Wataru promises that soon he will experience the same torment as this cow. The main character pulls out a knife. The opponent lies that the girl was already dead when he found her. Wataru rushes forward, and now Baba Sr. is ready to discuss everything calmly. He's even ready to get down on his knees and ask for a chance. Pity doesn't work, so he changes his rhetoric to the standard one. By killing a murderer, you will become a murderer yourself. And when he asks if you are ready to become the one you hate, Wataru responds by plunging a knife into his chest. For him, Baba Nade was never a human being. Bastard, bitch, but not a man. After being stabbed, Baba shouts at the avatar, calling him a murderer. In response, Gigi promises that the criminal will experience his sister's pain 100-fold, and continues to strike one blow after another. So he beat him until he woke up. So much so that Wataru woke up, continuing to wave his hands already in reality. The main character did it. He did it. Hugging a picture of his sister, Wataru says he's sorry. Saya must have been waiting for these 8 years. At the same time, Baba Jr., waking up, steps on the wet floor. Thinking that the elder just pissed himself, he pulls off the blanket and sees that Nade is covered in blood. Vader has already continued the life of an ordinary schoolboy. After passing the report, he met with his girlfriend Masashima, with whom they went together to celebrate the discharge. While eating, Gigi understands that regardless of the occupation, the same picture is in front of his eyes. He killed a man, and the reason is not important. This fact cannot be forgotten. The phone rang. This is Detective Misumi. He wants to share that Baba Knight was attacked last night. He asked the good news, right? To which Wataru replies that it is rather annoying. He wanted to be the one to send him to the next world. Then he asks when the funeral is. Misumi disappoints him, Baba is in the hospital, but he is still alive. And the detective also wants Kiji to go there right now. And Wataru came. Now he is interested in whether his opponent remembered anything from what happened in his dream. During previous experiments, only Kenta remembered what happened. Baba regains consciousness. The detective wants to confirm the facts that happened. There is a slight hint in them that the younger brother committed the attack. After all, there are no signs of forced entry. At the same time, there is no more evidence. Everything points to the fact that only these two were in the room. The older brother stands up for the younger one. The second one has no reason and no balls to commit such an act. When the detectives finished, Misumi introduced the main character Sekad. She studies criminal psychology at university and sometimes helps the police with investigations. Now they have established that the weapon of attack was a knife. Moreover, the woman was very lucky. A couple of centimeters sideways, and the guy definitely would not have survived. Looking at the images, Vader already says, and why Misumi decided to bring him to the investigation. The detective has a theory that the attacker specifically decided not to kill the woman. All in order to turn the enemy's life into torture. He then asks Kiji if he has any guesses or comments. Of course, the detective called him because of his involvement, and for him to share his thoughts as the injured party. He honestly says he sees no reason to keep him alive, therefore, be it on the place of the killer, brought to you start. A little later, when Baba Nade woke up, there was only Wataru in the ward, who offered the criminal water. When asked where you are from, the main character honestly answers that he was attracted to the police, and then asks himself if Baba himself has any guesses. Further, Wataru admits that for the first time in 8 years, he was able to wake up so cheerful, and says that in order for Baba to be able to do this, he needs to answer one question. When a criminal opens his eyes in the morning one day, will he be very upset if he does not count one eye or a couple of fingers? Now he wants to know where the other two criminals are. He suddenly admits that Ekiyama, the leader of that plan, called him. And he talked about meeting the main character after he was released. Later, after the Golden Dream, Wataru overhears a dialogue between the detectives. Now Baba's life is completely in his hands, but he will not finish him off yet. He can do it after he finds the others. Although it is very difficult to find them with this problem. Talismans with GPS will not help, since the batteries there were only enough for a few days. He returns to his body, which is now in the lecture. Wataru later meets with Akade. She suddenly wonders if Kiji met with his brothers on the day of the attack. The main character honestly answers that they had seen each other shortly before, although they did not talk much. They just shook hands, but Akada is interested in another question. How could he find them at all? The answer is random. However, another question immediately arises. How did he recognize him after these 8 years? And here the answer is even simpler. After the incident, he will remember their faces until the end of life. Anyway, he has an alibi. He didn't even take a step out of the hotel where he spent the night. The detective mentally notices that from there you can walk to Baba's house. Wataru thinks that as long as no one knows about his ability, he is unlikely to be discovered. And in that case, he doesn't have to hide anything. Finally, she warns that it is better not to approach criminals, and this is for his own good. Wataru replies that he cannot make such a promise. If he meets any of them, he will act according to the call of his heart. Then she says it's a joke and asks a counter question. Does she like quadrangular crabs? The girl didn't understand, and then he explains that she is going to soon go to Hokkaido and can capture them as a souvenir. Back on the pair, he again falls asleep on the desk. And here we are transported to the academy. She understands that Wataru could not physically commit the attack in any way. Remembering the words about the trip to Hokkaido, she goes to the archive to clarify whether there is no Ekiyama or Sakamoto there. The location of the first one is unknown, but the second one is definitely not in Hokkaido. So you can exhale. Anyway, that's what she thinks, because the disembodied avatar found out that she would decide to double-check, and, accordingly, looked at the actual location of Sakamoto. Now, in the next victim of 23 years, he changed his name from Sakamoto Tekui to Sakamoto Kazuma. Using a phone booth, he called his place of work, posing as a friend, but refused to give personal information about his location there. Then, having fallen asleep, Wataru himself went to the office of the construction company. There, the girl just tells the boss that someone called Davich, who introduced himself as a friend of Soket. From there, Gigi learns that the criminal no longer works for them. One of the 3 employees of the office leaves, and then the grandfather boss begins to get along with the secretary. Unlike nurses, this very much supports such corporate ethics. Returning to his body and changing clothes, Wataru waits for the secretary of the gerandophile to leave the office, after which he goes inside. Putting on his glasses and showing a fake police ID, he introduces himself as a cop and offers to talk about Sakamoto. So, Wataru finds out that Sakamoto was transferred to another place of work because he moved here with a colleague. Then, the main character wants to know exactly where he went. Grandfather promises to help, but it will take time to find a new address. Not wanting to wait, Gigi begins to blackmail him. Either he will provide the address now, or he will show his wife evidence of an official affair. And the puke worked. While the grandfather is looking for the address, Wataru himself went to the toilet. There he takes off his glasses when another Misumi comes to the office. When the detective hears that his colleague is in the toilet, he goes to check. There are no exits from there, so the only thing left is to lock yourself in a booth. Only Misumi uncovers the urethra, runs out into the Ataru. The rumor first asks if there were any difficulties. He replies that there are none. When the detective turns around to ask to see the identity of the protagonist is no longer there. After quickly looking at Sakamoto's address, he leaves the room. Misumi immediately comes out next. Noticing that his so-called colleague is not there, he shows his glasses, saying that they were forgotten. After learning that Sakamoto works at a mahjong club, Gigi burns a letter with the address. We need to hurry to the club while the guy is still there. But where are his glasses? We see that Misumi has also arrived there. While he takes the employee away to talk to the players, a girl sits down, or rather, disguised as an Otara. Then, under close supervision, one of the most boring scenes of the manga begins. Guys, including Sakamoto, cheat, so the disguised Ataru first loses, and then offers to play on desire. The one who lost will fulfill any wish of the winner. Accordingly, with such a bet, he wins. At the same time, he also receives the enemy's touch, which is necessary for the use of abilities. His desire is the answer to the question, did Sakamoto commit a serious crime? That's what he did. The meaning of this action is to reveal whether the criminal regrets what he has done or not. He answers that he did, and still repents. We are transported to the past. There were 3 criminals sitting in the room. There is one road where there are no cameras. There is one schoolgirl riding a bicycle there every day. If they're lucky, there won't be any cars there at the right time. The plan is simple. Accidentally hit her with a car, then offer to take her to the hospital. But instead of the destination, take her to another place and have a good time. They will film their crime on camera and threaten to leak it to the network. The girl's life will be over if someone finds out, so the plan will definitely work. Baba Knight hesitated. This is a serious crime. Is everything going to be fine for sure? But, despite the fact that the chances of being caught are minimal, let them judge for themselves. They are all teenagers. Even in the worst case, the punishment will be minimal, as the chances of being caught. When they left, they waited for Sai for more than an hour. It just seemed that she would not appear as the girl drove past. They caught up with her, knocked her down, and put her in their car. The girl asks to let her out, and Kiyama says that she does not need to be sorry. Her fate was sealed anyway. After all, Mochizuki Saya was their target initially. Akiyama was the first one in the car with her, but he hasn't done anything to her yet, just hit her so that she doesn't resist. And he gives the right of the first time to his subordinates. The first Babanade. Sakamoto will be filming. The girl continues to resist because she also received from the woman. When they finished and got out, Saya got out of the car and rushed into the woods. I couldn't run far. Sakamoto himself does not know how, but it seemed to him that the mood of the leader was transmitted, so he held out a stationary knife. Taking it in his hands, Akiyama's lust began to grow, and he began to perversely torment the victim. When he finished his story, the avatar asked if they were fully aware of their act. At first glance, the whole dialogue is designed to create the feeling as if Sakamoto regrets about his actions. However, we see that this is not the case when he is asked if he asked for forgiveness from the relatives of the victims. Sakamoto really repents, but he doesn't regret this crime. He regrets only one thing. Knowing about the law, he could have exploited it more competently. Losing control, Femme Wataru prepares his fist, but does not have time to strike. Flying forward, Misumi beats him with all his might. Then, after showing his ID and informing about Baba Knight, the detective says that he should immediately change his permanent location. Directing him to the exit, he notices that the girl disguised as Atara has already left. The same one, once in the alley, threw off his wig. Now he is absolutely sure that there is no need to leave any of them alive. After changing his clothes, he followed the policeman and the criminal. In the room, Misumi talks about the woman and says that it is necessary for the second one to lie low. He is about to leave, but Sakamoto asks him for protection. So he follows the policeman. They got into the car. Wataru caught a taxi and asked to go behind the detective. On the way, Akata called the last one. She wants to share that she wanted to discuss the appearance of the main character, the incident with the woman, but he refused to comment, saying only that he did not know anything. And perhaps the victim was threatened. The road opens onto the highway. Wataru understands that if he misses him, he has the risk of completely losing track. Therefore, he continues to pursue. Misumi notices that a taxi is driving right behind them. Then he starts to brake to get a better look at the driver. The main character noticed this, and therefore asks the detective to overtake so that he thinks, they say, if it were a pursuer, he would overtake the one he is following. In general, we need to act quickly. Then Gigi asks the driver to go straight to Tokyo Station. This trip will cost 60,000 yen. This is about 30,000 rubles. An unemployed schoolboy gives 70 and says to keep the change. The only thing he asks is that until the trip is over, the driver does not wake him up. After falling asleep, Wataru leaves the body. Fortunately, Sakamoto was also asleep. When the spirit of Gigi flew up, he almost woke up because it was hot in the car, but then fell asleep again. He dreamed that the guy was lying on a chaise longue on the beach. When the main character approaches, the criminal orders to bring him a drink, saying only, "Do you have any last words?" And at the same time not letting him say anything, except for what? Wataru strangles the guy with a belt. Reminding of his sister, he brings what he started to the end. Accordingly, the same thing happens with the physical shell of the Sekomat. He died right in the car and in front of Misumi. Revenge has been accomplished. The first one died. Wataru realizes that he can no longer afford to let his guard down. Now the police know that some supernatural forces are involved here. So again, the priority switches to Baba Knight. We are transported to the police station, where Misumi and her colleagues are discussing what happened. Most likely, the killer Sakamoto, the same person that attacked a woman knight. If the incident is somehow related to the case of 8 years ago, then the following targets are either Akayama or Baba Knight. Now they both need to be isolated for protection. Later, Wataru went to his next destination, but Baba Knight was no longer in the hospital room. The academy hurrying there didn't know either, but he checked out and left in an unknown direction. And he left with his brother. In the car, the younger one asks if there are any guesses who committed the attack. The police clearly don't believe him. Could it be an avatar? The elder doesn't know for sure, but in any case, only Gigi knew about their location. And the main character himself, thinking, walks down the street. Baba Knight understands his intention perfectly well, but he is unlikely to do anything himself. After all, the golden dream leaves no clues. The police will not be able to prove his guilt. We are transported to Misuma. He still doesn't understand how Sakamoto died. He is confused by why the killer took Sakamoto's life, but did not finish what he started with Baba Knight. Is it possible that they are missing something? The train of thought is ruined by the call. This is an academy that reports that it can't find a woman. The worst case scenario of all, an unknown criminal has already overtaken him. This dialogue is interrupted by a third person. One of the policemen came into the office to break the news. Baba showed up. He's in the interrogation room right now. From the moment he was attacked, he can't sleep. He is very close to Roscom Nadzor, and it seems that the enemy knows about it. Baba offers cooperation, and when he is protected, he confesses to all the crimes committed. But before that, Misumi wants to say something. He recalls an incident 8 years ago, so he says not to count on his leniency. He further reports that in the morning, he witnessed the death of Sekomot. He talked to him and didn't notice that the guy has a conscience. His time in prison didn't seem to have taught him anything. Does the detective mean to say that his former friend should have been killed? How can a detective say something like that? He has no right to judge anyone. Misumi agrees with the latter. He has no right to judge, and the position obliges him to protect even such garbage as a woman, regardless of the circumstances. Now he asks me to promise that Nade will not lie to him. Back to the Avatar. After making sure that there is no surveillance behind him, the main character sends to my parents. While they are eating, he notices that there is no news about Sekomoto on TV. He was afraid that the runaway Baba could cook something for him, so he decided to visit his parents. But it seems that so far everything is fine. Later, he went up to his room. He is also interested in something else. Why Misumi did not contact him after the death of the second one, when he called to report the attack on Baba. And then a call came from an unknown number. A voice tells him to go into the living room. Wataru Strimglove rushed down and sees that his parents are dead. The hero wakes up. No, you can't sit idly by. He'll try again tomorrow. And then the phone actually rang. This is Misumi, who wants to talk about Sekomoto. Since the victims are connected, the police begin to protect Baba Nada. But something is wrong with this dialogue. Baba could have expressed his suspicions to the police. It seems that the game of lies has begun. Then Misumi again asks to return to the investigation and suggests a meeting place. Wataru says is this normal? After all, whatever one may say, but the main character can be called interested, and therefore no one who doesn't look more suspicious than himself. Finally, Misumi asks for an alibi. If you believe Baba's words, the truth will be revealed tomorrow. Later, Misumi gathered both the older Baba and the younger Baba in front of a camera in some room. They decided to transfer them to another place, and now they are in a hotel under construction. In the late afternoon, both brothers went to bed. They were continued to be monitored through cameras. The detective is also going to rest. Everything will be decided tomorrow. On the morning of the next day, the Avatar arrived at the stipulated place. He is absolutely sure that Misumi has prepared something for him, but he sees no reason to worry. With this ability as the golden dream, he just walks away. A bus was waiting for him at the point of deployment. Inside, his parents, who were also called by the detective. In addition, his sister's homeroom teacher and her close friends were there. In general, Misumi gathered everyone who was close to his sister. When the instigator of the meeting himself appears, he simply says that he kept silent about the appearance of others, because he wanted to surprise Giji. Now he says that he gathered everyone who somehow touched on the incident of 8 years ago. He does not give specifics further, saying that he has prepared a small game for those present. It has already begun. On the bus, they closed the windows with curtains, and the others were asked to put on masks so that they could not see anything. Avatar realizes that the police are trying to mislead. But in the worst case, he uses his quirk to determine the location. When the bus started moving, Misumi sat down next to the main character. While they are having a small talk, and the suspect detective takes out his glasses from his jacket, patting the unknown person in front, who turned out to be the old man from the construction company. The policeman puts them in the face of Giji. The old man recognized him. While he has already figured it out, the main character thinks that he is looking forward to finding out what kind of game a policeman has prepared for him. Later, the audience was allowed to remove the mask and treated with grape juice. After drinking, Wataru became ill. Misumi offers the guy a break, saying that he won't let him carry everything alone after all. And Wataru falls asleep. This is an old school that is no longer fully functioning. Wataru stayed asleep on the bus. On the way, Misumi says that he has gathered everyone here in order to introduce someone. Namely, with Baba Knight. He's here in this very building. At the same time, the main character came out of his body. Seeing the location, he flew to the scene. There, the detective told everyone about Sekomoto. According to him, the second one did not repent in any way. It is unlikely that it would have turned out differently in the situation with the woman. So the detective suggests taking everything into their own hands, all together enter the room, and get rid of Knight. To the objection, he replies that it is not murder. These people are monsters in human skin. They cannot be allowed to stay in society. Otherwise, there is a chance that this tragedy will happen again. Now the policeman is ready to give a 100% guarantee that no one from the presence. No charges will be filed. The former class of hands and a couple of extras are leaving. The parents and another couple of extras remained. You can either return to the bus, which will then take everyone home, or stay and carry out the execution with your own hands. So, Baba Knight is tied hand and foot on a chair. He shouts, demanding that the policeman release him. Everyone who decided to stay went into the room. In front of the astral avatar, the detective first beats the woman with a stick, then with a pipe, and finally with his fists. The next one will be the father of the main character. He takes the bat in his hands and swings. Gigi tries to shout that he is the only one here who has to kill. Suddenly, Baba started saying that by doing this, the father would not return Sayu. And the father really can't do it. Dropping the bat, he calls the knight is a piece of shit. They are about to leave, when suddenly the prisoner throws off his ropes and hits Misumi on the head, knocking him unconscious. The situation has changed dramatically. Baba shouts that no one should move. Now he wonders who else in the audience intended to kill him. Wataru tries to interfere somehow, but being disembodied, he cannot interact with material objects. And because he was drugged, he won't wake up so easily on his own. Then it remains to look for someone nearby who is sleeping and who can help. This person was the fallen asleep Arcade. She dreams that she is at the amusement park. After explaining to her what is going on, Gigi slaps the girl in the face. She instantly wakes up and runs to the scene. She made it in time, and Baba Nade gives up. Then Akata says, "Good job, Misumi," and he rises. Baba shows displeasure that the detective has gone through with the blows. And Katie reports that Wataru came to her in a dream and was able to wake her up. "Hey, Wataru, are you listening?" says the detective. "I'm amazed that you have such power. I understood correctly that you can sneak into someone else's mind when you sleep. Apparently, the target must also sleep. Do you want to know how I came to this conclusion? On the day when Sakamoto died, a taxi was following us. The company's records showed only one car that was traveling along this route. Identified as a young guy in a cap, asks him not to wake up. This behavior is so mysterious that I thought that if the passenger is a murderer, then he must have the ability to control other people's bodies when he sleeps. Therefore, Misumi decided to recreate the conditions that would force him to use his abilities. He instructed Akata to sleep nearby and drug the guy himself, so that in case of interaction, he would make sure that Wataru was the criminal they were looking for. Misumi offers to discuss everything slowly when Wataru wakes up, because the boy is confused. Based on the testimony of Baba and the director of the construction company, as well as a result of the experiment, an arrest warrant was requested in Ataru. It's too early to relax yet, given the non-triviality of what is happening because of the golden dream. The police will have to work hard to reliably form a case. Until this happens, you can't take your eyes off the main character. After a long sleep, after pills, Gigi himself woke up in his own apartment. Cameras were placed all around the perimeter. Surveillance took place outside as well. Taking out the disc in the Ataru, turns on the music system. His sister bought him this CD. He understands the situation he's in, but he can't give up. We need to understand how he got into this situation and how to get out of it now. And while he thinks, the police continue to discuss the details. In the photo, a human handprint appeared on the face of the academy, right after school. There is a trace, and the size matches Gigi's hand, but there are no prints. One of the theories appears. There was one experiment at Columbia University Medical School. There, people were put into a hypnotic state, and red-hot iron was applied to their foreheads. In fact, this place was simply traced with a pencil, but at the moment of touching, the subjects began to scream, saying that there were even traces of burns. And perhaps the ability of Gigi works through persuasion. The main character got up and went outside. There he immediately approached the policeman in the car and made it clear that he knew that he was from the police. Then asks, does the observer, which is now a woman, and leaves. Getting nervous, Misumi immediately ordered the criminals to be taken away. Another hiding place. Heading in the other direction, Wataru himself thinks that the first stage is over. Now the police, watching him, will have to concentrate on the woman. Gigi itself has no choice but to bet on the possibilities that have not yet been fully explored. Golden Dream. In less than 2 hours, the main character got to Baba's house, in which his goal, of course, is not there. But there is his younger brother, who immediately came out to meet him. He didn't really talk to him, just asked if he was alone at home. Baba Jr. scoffs. His eldest turned out to be smarter and got away with it. He called him a moron and promised to give him his books if his parents wanted to return him to elementary school. Just turning around, Wataru left. Night is falling, but because the police will be a woman night, he is allowed to sleep in the daytime. So that the sleep time does not coincide with the main character's sleep. They still don't fully understand how the ability works, and therefore can't afford to take extra risks. The next day, Wataru came to the same house again, starting to specifically infuriate the younger brother of the criminal. The latter came closer and grabbed him by the collar of his clothes. Gigi turned around again and left. Misumi concludes that she seems to be able to exhale. He had a fear that Wataru had some kind of trump card in store. But it looks like the guy has given up, and he has nothing else. The phone rang. A warrant for Gigi's arrest will be issued this evening. The door opens, and Akade stumbles into the room. She has bad news. Baba's younger brother surrendered to the police. He confessed that he was the one who tried to kill his older brother that night. This is from the point of view of the prosecutor's office. It will reset all suspicions in the direction of Wataru. Misumi came for questioning. Their Baba Jr. confessed once again that he was the one who tried to kill his brother. The detective somehow noticed that there was something strange in his behavior. Even so, it wouldn't explain Sakomat's death. But one way or another, the attack on Baba is the foundation of the whole case. Without him and his testimony, all the evidence towards Wataru is circumstantial. Misumi has no choice but to give up. A little later, Wataru notices that there is no more surveillance. He is still suspicious. Just no more reason for him to run. All because the guy realized the true horror of the Golden Dream. Thanks to him, he penetrated Baba Jr.'s dream and convinced that he was a real criminal. In other words, the Golden Dream allows you not only to physically influence a person in his dream, but also mentally. The clue to this realization was the reflection on Sakomat. When he killed him in his sleep, the victim's brain thought that he really died, and therefore really died. That is, the basis of the whole Golden Dream is conviction. Misumi is well aware that Wataru has done something. The only question is how and what exactly. Akadi reported that Baba wants to return home. He says he can't trust the police anymore. The detective asks her what's in the envelope she's holding in her hand. But in the envelope, it says the place where Baba Knight is hiding. But only when she wrote it, Misumi orders to use all her strength. It is dangerous to act alone now. At the same time, another policeman, the one who was watching the avatar, brought him an envelope. He himself went to the park, where he sat quietly and fed the pigeons. He got a call. Only then did he realize that he was not at work at all, but was sitting somewhere in the park. At this time, Baba himself usually goes to bed, so you need to act quickly. Wataru, taking a taxi, asks to hurry up. We need to have time to fry the woman before he is seen through again. Misumi calls him on the phone and makes it clear that he knows about his location. Then he promises him that he will never let the main character kill Knight. Perhaps Gigi will change the approach to business. Perhaps Gigi will be able to somehow influence Baba Knight and push him to Roscom Nadzor. But if Wataru does that, then he will regret that he did not take revenge with his own hands. Such revenge is equal to a great defeat, so that's enough. It would be better if Wataru just gave up now. The main character replies only that he admires the Missy and then hangs up. The car arrived at its destination. The police also arrived there. Detectives quickly overtake Knight's apartment, but everything is fine with him. They tell him about the suggestion of suicide, and he makes it clear to them that he is not going to do anything with himself. Then the detectives decide to change the shelter. While it is being prepared, they go into the restaurant. Baba Knight just knows a great place. After a little demonstration of his temper, he goes to the toilet, but then something comes to the detective. When the waitress came up, he was trying to order something that is not on the restaurant menu. Why do that if you know this place? The police rush to the roof, but the door is locked. Baba stands on the edge, and Wataru also appears there. The criminal is not going to jump, but he is very much going to let a hidden knife into the entrance. Baba Knight rushes at the avatar, but the second one calmly mans it from each lunge. Misumi tries to knock out the window, thinking that the main character did not brainwash Bobby. And the second one is going to kill the first one now. Having caught the avatar near the very edge, the criminal sticks a knife into the Giji. That's all. Victory. Time for celebration. While Misumi blows out the window with a fire extinguisher, Wataru says that the brainwashing was successful. When he was asleep, the guy entered his dream and gave the installation. You have to kill Mochizuki Wataru. He obeyed and came to this place, taking with him the knife. Now any action of the Giji can be positioned as self-defense. Misumi, already on the roof, keeps a guy at gunpoint. He demands to drop the knife. In response, Baba Knight shouts that he is going to finish off Wataru. In his thoughts, he stops himself. He doesn't want to say it, but he can't overcome the desire to kill. Baba Knight pulls out a knife and swings again. No one will hear her screams. Enjoy this pain. For those 8 years of despair of my sister, says the main character. In her thoughts, Baba asks herself to stop, but the knife is already heading for the avatar. Die, you bastard. As soon as the avatar said this, a bullet pierced through Baba Knight's shoulder. Recoiling to the side, the main character pushed him off the roof. He won. Misumi was forced to prevent the attack. To get revenge, Wataru took advantage of the detective chasing him. The police saw everything. At the legal level, they have nothing to show. Wataru was taken to the hospital. Later, the chief chastised Misumi. The case is closed. And when the main character was at home, he looks at the photo with his sister and says that there is only one goal left, Ryu Ekiyama. That's just it, still needs to be found. Referring to the date of release from prison, he makes a surprising discovery. He met Baba at the same hospital while Iwataru was there. Perhaps Ekiyama was seen by someone who visited him. We need to check their memory through the golden dream. He decided to start with his girlfriend, who visited him. The main character asks her to remember, and when she does, the landscape immediately changes to a hospital one. Then he saw a figure in a black cloak. This man, among other things, was also in the Giji ward. That's just the face is not normal to see. The friend put the gift bag on the table and headed for the exit. There was another one nearby, which is not visible at the bottom in a dream, since she did not look there. But the clever Wataru was sure that both gifts were from her. It turns out that the unknown person put it to him. Then, using the nurse's dreams, he spied the same picture from different angles, a paper bag from the Halinda institution. It's too far away to go there for a rice cake. Most likely, this is some kind of hint, so this place will need to be visited. But why did Ekiyama come looking for him? Still not particularly encrypting with what intentions he's left the hotel. Wataru came to the establishment. The supposed Ekiyama appeared and sat down opposite. The whole dialogue develops in such a way as to give the impression that this man is Ekiyama. He warned Avatar, Sakamoto, and a woman, and now he simply offers to retreat. The main character threatens, thinking that the conditions of the Golden Dream have already been fulfilled. As a result, it turns out that this is a fake person. He is not Ekiyama. However, he is not an opponent of the Avatar. He is forced to work for a bandit, but he also dreams of getting rid of him. Because this person shares the address and then shows his left hand. She's crippled by burns. He left not just an address, but a pass to a nightclub with his contacts. It is quite possible that this is a trap, so losing your temper. From the body, Wataru went to investigate. Exploring the location, he stumbles upon a room where a woman is fucked in front of her husband for the sake of writing off debts. And a little later, he saw his Akiyamuryu in person. After returning to the body, Wataru called the man in the raincoat. His name is Tekanaga. The main character offers to hold a strategic meeting. After finishing the call, this same person came into Kokiyami's room. He reports to him that he tried to lure the Avatar to one place, but nothing came of it. However, he promises that he will still get the youngster. Later, during the meeting, Tekanaga shared all the information. He says that Ekiyama needs to be hurried, but the avatar does not agree. He shares how the ability works and what condition is necessary for its activation. Then you need to come up with a plan to get Ekiyama to touch the avatar. After some time, Ekiyama came to the barber shop. He was cut, then entrusted to wash his hair with a new one. This is the main character who inspired the manager through the golden dream that he works for them. Nearby is the visitor's phone number, which Tekanaga called. It's part of the plan. Wataru stretched out his phone and the touch on his arm. But he didn't touch him, he just took the call. Then Ekiyama says that everything is as Tekanaga said, the kid came to him himself. The main character understands that he was cheated. The bandit sixes appear from behind. He understands that he has to escape. There should definitely be a back door in this place. Ekiyama shoves the phone. On the other side, a new accomplice, the Thero Predator, asks not to be angry with him. Being cornered, Wataru grabs a pair of scissors and stabs the bandit in the leg. Then he rushes to his third goal, but there he maneuvers and counterattacks to the jaw. As soon as he had fallen, Ekiyama began to beat it with his foot. The main character tried to attack again, but eventually lost consciousness from the next blow. After some time, Tekanaga came to the person who was following the main character and said that they decided to get rid of the guy tomorrow. While there is time, the second one is invited to sleep. He agrees. Left alone, Tekanaga approaches the suspended avatar, and they both start laughing. He really betrayed him, or rather, did not say about the part of the plan in which he sets him up. But during a conversation on the phone, he gave a hint. Soon Ekiyama will go to bed, so it's time to finish with him. Before that, we get a short flashback of Takanagi. It's about how Ekiyama, who had just become the boss, first scared him for a slight offense that he would have to pay with his sister, and then poured acid on his hand instead. Tekanaga gives the address where Ekiyama lives, and then asks him to hurry. Finally, also promised that he will finish off the chapter. But suddenly the phone rang, and Kiyama says that he does not want to sleep. Somehow, he is very much worried about what happened to the head. He wonders why the guy didn't try to escape through the back door, but decided to get into a fight. The justification he's a child is not convinced, so Ekiyama is going to go back and finish what he started right now. This is bad. Tekanaga requests to the avatar left. Running out into the street, Giji begins to worry about his accomplice. Yes, and he'll kill him if he really starts to look for him. In general, Wataru called an accomplice and said that he was staying. It won't work. Ekiyama will be furious when he finds out that the prisoner has escaped, so Tekanaga definitely does not live anymore. However, Giji has a plan. The antagonist is back. The first thing he asks is where the prisoner has gone. It is not Tekanaga who falls to his knees in front of him, but another bandit, showering apologies. Wataru inspired him through the golden dream that it was he who missed him. He doesn't intend to look for a guy. There is a more effective way. Ekiyama calls him and gives him the address of his parents' house. If he doesn't show up there by noon, the bandit will burn the house down by the roots. Arriving at the place, they waited nearby, and Wataru really appeared. He gets into the car. The transport has not yet started, and Ekiyama already says that he will now have to kill the main character. There was a knock on the window. It's a policeman. He asks Ekiyama to come with him to the station. They say he beat up a man in a barber shop yesterday. Since there was a camera, everything was recorded. Thinking that Wataru is just stalling because he doesn't want to die, Ekiyama agrees to drive to the station. Takanagi, he gives the command to keep the guy's eyes on him. At the police station, Ekiyama learned that he would have to sit in an isolation ward. At first, he is unhappy, but after that he quickly puts up with it. Soon he will be released, and then he will cut the main character into pieces. With a question, "You, Ekiyama?" Misumi came up to the bars. He is interested in the following. Do not see any chance this man with Mochizuki Wataru. Then, hearing false accusations with the words "I'm late," he punches the bars with his fist. After that, he confronts him with the fact that such a trial because of the attack will take some time. So Ekiyama is here for at least a few days. Babu and Sakamoto were killed while sleeping. Ekiyama is next, so even a few days will play a key role in the survival of bandits. Wataru kills victims in his sleep. and it was his plan to make sure that the third victim was behind bars and could not escape anywhere. And now he's watching it all in a disembodied manner. Then Akiyama loses his head and demands to be released. At first, he threatens that the detective's entire family will lie down, after trying to bribe the best night of his life. After all, their catalog begins with 10 years. Whatever Misumi answers, don't sleep. Then he turns around and leaves. Akiyama didn't sleep last night either. When Giji escaped, and the reverse report had just begun, he was kept there much longer. The longer the period without sleep, the more difficult it was with him. According to the policeman, he kept repeating that if he fell asleep, he would die. Before my eyes are images of Baba and Sekamoto insisting to hold on. The fifth day was given with incredible heaviness. Realizing that he is at the limit, and thinking that he will kill Wataru if he gets into his dream, Akiyama closes his eyes. He found himself on some street. Wataru is already there. Having reported that Akiyama fell asleep 20 minutes ago, the main character went to bed. To him, he offers to talk. First, he wants to apologize. Acknowledging his sin, he kneels down. Akiyama was just afraid to die. Now he says that if Giji really wants it, then let him kill him. Bitaru turns away and disappears. Thinking that the plan has worked, Akiyama smiles. Rejoicing, he exclaims that in life he will not lose to such an idiot, either brother or sister. Both are dumb. Then he sees the main character again. Akiyama repeats that he was just joking. Wataru swung the sledgehammer. The epilogue begins with Wataru coming to his sister's grave. That's it, she's avenged. Misumi also comes there. He informs Wataru that Akiyama died in his cell last night. His head just shattered into pieces. The detective says that he communicated with these three. Each of them was incorrigible. But even so, they were ordinary people. Although, what difference does it make? Wataru calls out to Misumi as he starts to leave. In the back, he says to him, "When the night comes, I dream. Dreams are like the other side of the moon, a whole world hidden from our eyes. Revenge is done. No one could stop Mochizuki Wataru." The end. Well, I hope that if you didn't like the story, then at least you laughed heartily. The manga had a really great potential to become a good detective in the style of the same Death Note, where a person got the ability, thanks to which he can administer his justice from a distance and at the same time not leave evidence. But you can't call her a detective, a defect at most. Yes, there were a couple of non-trivial solutions that caused something similar to the wow effect. Nevertheless, all sewn with white thread. Heroes are smart only when they need to be, and they are stupid almost all the time. It feels like their intelligence is an Ulta with a very large cooldown. Only do not think the manga, I still liked it. She bad as Trillerny story, but a great thrash. But let's take it in order and start, as always, with a drawing. Art here is probably the main thing for which you can praise this manga. Everything looks good, from the characters to the locations. There's really nothing to find fault with at all. Each person here is drawn well, beautifully, and turned out to be memorable. You just stick to some frames and look at them for a few minutes. At the same time, the atmosphere is very well pumped up thanks to the drawing of facial expressions and the use of a large amount of black color. In the video about the crucifixion, I told how mangaka deprived the victims of Uruma of their human appearance, deforming their image with the help of a drawing. There is a similar story here, only with the help of art, it is emphasized that the character can be dangerous. We have finished with the main advantages, we move on to the characters. Actually, we are driving a moron against a moron and a moron. Again, this is all very strange. They are not devoid of charisma, their motives are clear. But here are the deeds. The main character gets a strong ability, literally like Blanche for unpunished murder, who will never be brought to him. But despite the declared intelligence, he has pulled down his underpants. For about a month, he tested his ability, began to take a lot of risks to declassify, in order to finish off the second one. Yes, there's a problem with then revealing the new location of the prey, but you're calm. You can safely turn it around again. Yes, you may have to sleep once again, and spend some time, but why take such a risk? The detective is no better either. If Giji had not forgotten his glasses in the toilet, it is unlikely that he would have had more weighty evidence to verify his theory. Why am I so sure of this? Because during the game, he was not at all confused by the Wataru disguised as a woman. He heard the dialogue about the crime because he intervened and hit the second victim when he realized that he had not repented. He was not at all embarrassed by the fact that the latter literally confessed to prostitution with participation and tried to bribe him with it. Yes, again, when you need to make these turns, suddenly everyone doesn't get smarter, but otherwise. Okay, I think everything is clear here anyway. Let on that note, smoothly move on to the plot, and let's start with the pros. First of all, there are still interesting plot twists and certain moments such as, for example, the disclosure of Gija's abilities and the betrayal of that man. The author knows how to surprise, and this is definitely a plus. I was also pleased that the ability has its limitations, that is, that you need to know exactly where the victim is. And you also need to, for this person to touch you. These difficulties involve the hero directly into what is happening, not allowing him to sit on the sidelines. Then we have all the same quibbles that I voiced earlier. The story itself is a standard plot about a place. An unusual idea brightens it up, which is immediately hacked by pseudo-intellectual characters. There are a lot of unclosed moments, such as why exactly Saya turned out to be the target of the antagonist. After all, everything is served in such a way that he knocked her out, not only because of the girl's daily route, but also for some reason. As if there was some other connection. Plus, I haven't liked the Avatar's power-up yet. No, it's cool, of course, that he got one, but again it looks like a piano in the bushes. He was pressed against the wall, and, accordingly, he got it. However, do not think that in the end, I did not like the story. Catching facepalms, and with questions, which I kept catching haha. And the funny thing is, when I reread the script itself in the adaptation, that is, without unnecessary moments, and the correct arrangement of some narratives, the story seemed to seem more serious to me. As a result, of course, the story is untenable as a detective, but as usual, a dead-end manga to kill time is the very thing. She is well drawn, knows how to evoke emotions, and at the same time make you laugh, and also emphasizes that the crucifixion was not so bad, in general, for one time, but if there is nothing else to read, why not? Write in the comments how you like Mango, it will be very interesting to know your opinion. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like this video. Therefore, I say goodbye to you, I love everyone, and bye to everyone.